Springboks, 24-8 winners over the Wallabies in Sydney, folks. We're going to go through some key events and stats in what was a pretty dominant shift. Also, I reserved the right to talk about the previous game between the All Blacks and Argentina, so if you don't know the result in that one, just in case I do mention something, FYI, you are warned. But, new stadium, looking good there in Sydney. Wee bit of rain, which was unfortunate, but... the game started interestingly. I was loving the South African fans booing Nick Wright the first couple of times he got the ball. That was cool. We don't usually see that kind of stuff in rugby. I know that's like... it's not like a great thing to be celebrating, but I love the fact that there was that kind of extra bit of feeling between the sides, and that translated through to the sides on the pitch. Goodness me, I haven't seen this much niggle in a rugby game for quite some time. And if I could talk about Ben O'Keefe just for a second, I don't think he really stamped it out. You know what I mean? He kind of let it escalate to the point where by the end of the game it was getting a bit out of hand. But that's just kind of by the by. You guys, I feel like refs who kind of stamp that stuff out early get control of the game properly. He did try, but seemed to fail pretty miserably. But anyway, South Africa very much punishing the Aussie guys around the ruck early on in this game, and for the majority of the game, to be honest. Physically, the South African pack definitely got on top of this one. And it was in evidence very quickly as a couple of loose balls when the Aussies were just too slow to clear the ball out the back of the ruck. The South African forwards absolutely swarmed them. These guys were playing like men possessed early. The Boks took about 8 minutes to get on the board. I mean, they'd gone about 7 phases. The Boks, they got advantage, and then Hendricks, quick thinking. They wanted to play quick. They took multiple quick plays in this game, quick lineouts, quick taps. Hendricks with the quick tap. The Aussies knocked back 10, and then Damon Delinde ends up going over. Roux with the pass to Eben with the offload, and it's a yellow card for Matt Phillip to boot because he wasn't back 10. So 7 points for the Springboks. They are on the board relatively early. They've talked about wanting to get a good start and start with some high intensity, and I think the coach will be pretty happy with the way they did start. It's not long later we get the first talk from Ben O'Keefe to the captains about the niggle. But like I said, I don't think he follows through with it that well. I do think it did kind of escalate a bit too much. I mean, it was entertaining to watch, but I still think the ref, if he's going to try and stamp it out, needs to get control of it early. South Africa, to be honest, let Australia off a few times during the Matt Phillip yellow card. There's one time when Mapimpi's pinged for being offside in front of a kick. Kind of potentially gives the momentum back to Australia, but Khaleesi, one of his many turnovers, kind of keeps the momentum with the Boks, and then Delinde dropping a restart from a dropout cold also gives the Wallabies a chance to wrestle the momentum back. The Wallabies scrum is okay without Phillip, and the yellow card finishes without conceding a point. Holloway escapes a potential yellow for a one-handed intercept. I don't think it was a slap down, but you know what I mean. Anytime you go for the ball one-handed, you're at risk, but he gets away with that one. And South Africa really looking to make use of the boot. A lot of kicks. And the kicking game was absolutely pinning the Wallabies guys back. Willemse had a cross kick to Moody, which was pretty good after a scrum. The offload was there. They ended up knocking it on, but the intent was kind of clear to see. If you're not going to watch this guy, you're going to get pinged. And they did get pinged not too much long later. Aussies didn't do themselves any favours when Lolesio kicked it out on the full. And then, South Africa just kept pinging them with the high balls, Like Willemse and Roux, absolutely just winning the battle with the boot in this game, 100%. South Africa did concede a couple of penalties, which piggybacked the Wallabies up the field. When there was a high tackle, the Wallabies ended up just opting for a 3 to at least get themselves on the board. And we're already at like half an hour by this point. The Springboks line has never really been genuinely threatened, but it's 3 points to 7. So despite what's largely been played down the Aussie end, it's only 4 points to show for it, so relatively close on the scoreboard. South Africa did get a maul penalty on 33 minutes, but then they missed touch. And then Australia, when they had a chance to counter, they got pinged for obstruction. So it was just a little bit messy, kind of lacking a wee bit of cohesion. But it started to click for the South Africans just before half-time. Willems with a nice little inside ball to Diaka was a thing of beauty. But then Roux got pinged for kind of coming in at the side as McReight was going for a turnover. But then, probably the highlight reel moment of the game, or at least of the first half, is the Moody try. Goodness gracious me, what a way to introduce yourself onto the international scene. Dave Rennie talked pre-match about not wanting to give this guy kind of chances in the air and wanting to contest kicks with him. Well, he jumped, and Marika was kind of stuck in no man's land with the distance on the South African kick. Hendricks' kick, right? Unable to really get airborne. Moody did get airborne and Marika didn't. So Marika just was sitting there as Moody plucked the thing out of the sky and just drove over for a really nice try. Like, congratulations to that young man. His family will be immensely proud. 19 years old. Already got his first test try, so fantastic stuff for him. Missed conversion, but 12 points to 3 at halftime. Springboks have had 57% possession. They've had 69% territory. They've kicked 20 times to 11. They've beaten 14 defenders to 3. They've been pretty bloody good in the first half. And for the Wallabies, Paisami's gone off, which doesn't help. And then they say at halftime that Tupou, I guess, as he was doing his warm-ups and whatnot, injured his calf at half-time, so would not be able to come on to make any impact. So kind of going from bad to worse for the Aussies, unfortunately. Second half, the kicking game goes on, and Australia are losing it. You can see as they're playing a bit of force back or kick tennis, whatever you want to call it, the Aussie guys are just getting slowly pushed back to the point where Roux is able to take it pretty much on the halfway line. And when he's in Australia's half, it's time to stop kicking and it's time to start attacking. They go down through some phases on the left. Creel, Khaleesi, kits off. And then when they shift it right, Mostert is out there on the right wing and he's still got Moody outside him. But he's able to just power over and beat his man, kind of not even one-on-one. He had space. The Aussie tackler did get to him, but was never going to stop him from close range. Another misconversion means the Aussies are 2 scores away from levelling. So if there's one thing you could say about the Springboks without Pollard there, I know he missed a couple last week of himself, but like one of Willem's one was really shanked to the right, but missed conversions, which would have seen the scoreboard look a little bit tighter if they'd got them. Not to be. So Wallabies not dead and buried, but not looking particularly hot, especially when Lolesio goes off a few minutes later as well. So remember, with only 2 backs on the bench, you got Jake Gordon coming on. He's having to float out on the right wing. Eventually him and Nick White swap around, but not ideal. Both their backs have had to come on pretty early on for more than half the game, pretty much. Australia get a penalty on 51 minutes. They go for touch. South Africa's 22. They really need the points. They get another penalty. And Hodge almost kicked the bloody thing dead. He only had to kick it to the 5 metre line. It came off the side of his boot, but didn't go dead. It was touch and go. That would have been horrendous. 5 metre line out. They maul it. It gets advantage. And this is the moment, I think, if South Africa can see points here, if the Wallabies can get their maul going, or if they can get the South Africans yellow carded, then, I mean, they're going to be on 10 points potentially, 1 score away from evening things up. That's properly going to be game on. South Africa's on a yellow card warning for conceding penalties and advantages at the maul and offside. And then Brendan Pickerel in the TMO's box spots a clean out from Alaalatoa on Damien Dillender's head. It could have been yellow, but Ben O'Keefe says it's only a penalty. Paul Williams, last week's ref, seemed to be trying to talk him into a yellow from what we could see on the tally. He didn't just look to be kind of nodding and agreeing. He looked to be trying to bring up some point. And Brendan Pickerel's tone of voice told me he thought it might have been something else as well, but Ben O'Keefe was having none of it, and it's kind of fortunate for Australia as well because Tupou, remember, who would have been the replacement if they'd had to have a scrum, wouldn't have been available because he's injured himself. So Alaalatoa gets off, but that's the moment where Australia needed to convert that pressure, and it's not even it's not even a team thing that happens. It's a referee spotting something, the TMO. So yeah, that takes away the momentum. It takes away the field position. South Africa go down the other end. Damon Delenda gets held up. They go back for an early drive. South Africa go again. Australia managed to get a line-out steal. Like, they're hanging on for grim death. Like, credit to the Aussies, man. If they concede any more points, you feel like it's probably going to be game. So they absolutely need to hold on. Like, Samu gets a strip on defence. Like, Roux goes for a drop goal because he knows, 14-point deficit. Just make it one more and it's a 3-score game. But it goes just under the bar. And, for the rest of the game, Australia don't have that much going forward. Every time, the next time they really get into South Africa's half, Brendan Pickerel pops up again and spots a neck roll from Dave Porecki. So, yeah, the pressure is relieved with some spotting from the TMO. And then the game is over on 71 minutes, or 70 minutes, when Mapimpi this week breaks 2 tackles. I think Kellaway and Koroibete's last-minute charging attempt. Mapimpi goes over in the corner. And I get the feeling that Mapimpi was probably feeling a little bit hard done by about that tackle last week, because he really wanted to let Koroibete know that he got the try this week. And then that sparks the handbags of all handbags. We haven't seen anything quite that much for a while. Everybody's getting involved. To be honest, I thought the start was kind of innocuous. It was just Marika getting a little bit of lip from Mapimpi. It wasn't anything too dramatic. But, I suppose you could trace it back to Ben O'Keefe's earlier comments about not wanting to have guys stirring stuff up. But there's been stuff going on. Like, I remember Nick White pushed Khaleesi down onto the ground at one point, and there was kind of nothing doing. Like, there's been niggle both ways. And suddenly this is the one that he decides to ping. So they give the try, and then you've got Eben Etzebeth and Alaalatoa getting really up close to each other. Eben is doing the crazy eyes thing. And, Mapimpi's the guy who ends up getting yellow carded for starting it. But it was honestly a pretty innocuous one. And I should say, Roux with a nice try assist for Mapimpi's try. Give that guy a medal for the way he pulled the strings today. But, weird one. Like, it's not unheard of for players, when they score a try, to celebrate in the other team's faces. It's pretty normal. Yeah, it didn't seem like, I don't know, didn't seem that much in it to mine. Obviously, it blew up, and you could blame that on that moment, but anyway. So there's a penalty from the restart for that yellow card, and Australia are now 3 scores down, but they've got a penalty to start things, and then Eben Etzebeth just wins their line out anyway when they kick for touch, so nothing really doing. They do get a consolation. Like, credit to the Aussie guys to keep fighting for the 80. Samu ends up getting a try, and it was smart play from the Aussies to kind of keep playing when Roux had come out and tried to go for an intercept and missed it. But they didn't just stop playing and ask him to be yellow carded. They just kept playing with the advantage, so they at least got some points on the board in terms of a try to give them 8 points. But as I said, just a consolation and nothing much more doing. So yeah, the Aussies never really got going in this game, and the Springboks just kind of were able to cruise to it. And Springboks, I think, will be a bit disappointed that they left some more chances out there, but certainly bonus point win, first win in Australia in 9 years or whatever it is, can't be complaining. You'd have to be pretty happy with that. So possession ends up finishing 50-50. Territory, though, 60-40 to the Boks. Clean breaks is 5-1 to the Boks, just way more dangerous. Kicks from hand, 32-25 to the Boks. Penalties considered as pretty even, 13-14, but that's a pretty high count. Whenever you're getting towards 30 penalties, it's a pretty high penalty count. Ben O'Keefe, a little bit stop-start. Run meters, 288 to 174, so the Boks obviously edged that one. Neither side's goal kicking was great, 50-50, and like I said, if Willems kicks a couple of conversions, it's a 3-score game much earlier, but overall, I thought he was pretty good for a guy stepping in at 10. Kellaway for the Aussies comes off the bench, gets 42 metres, beats 4 defenders. McReight makes 12 from 15 tackles. But, it's more about the Boks with this one. Willems beats 7 defenders. Visa beats 4 and has 39 metres. Big carries from him. Khaleesi, best performance we've seen from him for ages. 3 turnovers, 1, 11 from 12 tackles. Roux pulling the strings, couple of try assists from him. Moody's try, like I mentioned, from the Hendricks kick is pretty sweet. But, Yeah, there you go. So, the Rugby Championship itself is all over the shop, isn't it? I think it's like 10 points, 9 points, 9 points or something. With the All Blacks getting that big win over the Pumas. Crazy. Really, really crazy stuff. So, I mean, it makes the competition interesting. And we'll see how things play out. No side's really been able to kind of bounce back and get any consistency going. So, yeah, it's really, really all over the place. But it's interesting. I'm loving it. So, yeah, it's almost just after midnight. So, I'm going to go to bed. You guys let me know your thoughts on the games. How well did you think the Springboks went? Wallabies, as I said, never really got going. So, their New South Wales hoodoo kind of goes on against Tier 1 teams anyway. So, yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts. And I'll talk to you guys again soon.